Welcome back, Lake listeners. Thank you for tuning in for more of Season 4 with our Grow, Thrive, Inspire podcast. Today, I'm really excited because you can see that I have two awesome friends of mine, Mr. Bruce Phillips and Mr. Maclean Kelly, both primary agents with RE/MAX Lake of the Ozarks here with me today. And we're going to talk about kind of a fun, yet kind of a dramatized topic, and I'm really excited to have you both in on it. So Maclean and Bruce, thank you so much for being here. I'm pumped to talk about the both of you and this tough topic.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me. Be glad to give you some of my vast knowledge.
Yes, vast knowledge. Okay, so I wanted to start the show with both of you just sharing a little bit more about yourselves and kind of where you found the passion to do what you do. So Bruce, let's start with you.
Well, I am a local. I've been here forever. Been married for 35 years to the same gal.
Love Karen.
I got in with Marriott when I was a golf pro for about 22 years or 23 years. And they sent me through the school of customer service in the Marriott way and that kind of thing. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, I love working with people and trying to make them happy and their experiences the best they can be. So that's, I did that forever. And then I just kind of got burnt out. I did it for so long that I thought, well, I need to go find something else to do. And a good friend of mine talked me into being a realtor.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing. You're dealing with people every day and you're trying to make their home buying experience the best it can be. So
now, how did you get to be a golf pro? I just have to ask this question.
Well, it was daycare. When I was 3, I started playing golf. My mom and my 2 brothers took us to the golf course and dumped us off and come back and got us after work. And
wow.
So, I mean, it paid for my college, and I came out doing that. And, I was decent. My 2 brothers were really good, so that's all we ever did.
Wow.
So it was kind of do what you love, you know, and it's kind of hard to beat to play golf. I thought being a golf pro, I could play golf every day and do all that. And in reality, when it got towards the end and the higher up you went in the pecking order, the less you got to play.
Right.
I think the last 4 or 5 years that I was a golf pro, I might play 4 or 5 times a year.
Wow.
The rest of the time I was just teaching and running the golf business.
That's really neat. I did not know that about you. What about you, Maclean? What about your history, kind of your passion?
Well, I come from law enforcement. I was former law enforcement before I was a realtor. I was Department of Corrections, and then I was a DNR park ranger.
Really?
So working in those fields, obviously, it's people heavy. You're only interacting with people. And eventually, I made the change over to real estate because I figured if I'm going to work my tail off, I want to be compensated for it. Regardless of how much effort I put in there, at the end of the day, I was still getting paid the same. So I figured if I was going to get what I feel like I'm worth, I'm going to have to make a commission-based salary or commission-based lifestyle my life.
Yeah. When did you transition into real estate?
That had been about 2018.
Oh, okay.
I kind of just burned the boats on the shore and took out a bunch of credit cards, maxed them out, and started real estate.
Wow. Yeah, there you go.
Been surviving to this day.
Do you ever miss being in law enforcement? I'm sure that was like a crazy dynamic.
No, not really. I don't really miss wearing a bulletproof vest, carrying a gun to work, and hoping I make it home at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's definitely in the past. Good.
Well, I'm really excited to get both of your takes on this topic today. And the title of it is Haters Are Gonna Hate and How We Should Let Them. So, like I said, it can be kind of a touchy subject and something that tends to create a lot of drama. But what are your initial thoughts about haters? You guys are like the perfect people for this.
People don't hate people that are doing worse than them. Nobody punches down with hate, and if they do, it's a rare occurrence. So usually when people are hating on you, it's because you're doing good.
Yeah, you're doing something right. What about you, Bruce?
I love them. I mean, I love haters. I've had them my whole life between playing in sports and doing everything that I've done, and I just like making them mad.
Yeah, just proving them wrong. Well, I'm glad that you said what you said, Maclean, because that was exactly what I put as this next question. It said that once you start getting haters, you are doing something right. So do you agree with that, and why?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. My second year in real estate, I closed a little under $5 million, and I was working with agents that have been working 15, 20 years that were at the same level, and essentially they looked at me like I hadn't paid my dues.
Wow.
I hadn't paid my dues, so I didn't deserve what I got. And, you know, it was just simply, I was working the leads, I was putting the time in, and I was getting those results.
Mm-hmm.
But from the hater's point of view, it was, why is this new guy doing what took me 15, 20 years to do?
Mm-hmm. Do you have similar experiences within real estate, Bruce, with that kind of same mentality?
Well, you know, when I left the golf business, I had probably the best golf pro job at the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody said, you're crazy. You know, you're nuts to go sell real estate. There's 1,000 realtors at the lake and you're going to starve to death and, you know, and all of that. And I guess I didn't, you know, you know, and it turned out to be the best move I ever made, you know, and I look back at, I'm sure it's kind of the same as law enforcement. I look back to what I used to make as a golf professional, and it just makes you want to go hit your head against the wall for doing that for so many years and working 70 hours a week and busting your tail, you know, and just not making really a ton of money.
Right. Yeah. I can totally relate to that. There's a lot of people out there that want to cut others down and make themselves feel better. Like they do it to make themselves feel better. So I believe that it's kind of human nature to try to fit in, but this can be costly emotionally and physically. So how do you both overcome the feeling of trying to fit in or conform, if you will, to like haters' opinions?
I don't fit in. I don't try to fit in. I mean, one of my favorite sayings is normal sucks.
No, I like that.
You know, and who wants to be average or normal, you know? I mean, I'm my hardest critic.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, haters don't come anywhere close to making me be what I want to be.
Right, yeah.
So
you kind of just brush them off.
yeah, I don't pay that much attention to them. I just kind of giggle and go on.
Yeah. What about you, Maclean?
I found that when people are trying to cut you down, and they're trying to get you to conform, essentially what they're doing is they're saying that you can't outperform me because that means that I'm doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're trying to get you to conform or mold into a certain model, it's because they can't come to face with the fact that what they're doing isn't working on your level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense.
No, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I feel like a lot of people in our industry, especially, like I see agents all the time that I work with that are constantly looking at other competition and comparing themselves to the competition, and it just takes such a toll on their business. So how do you guys kind of prevent yourself from, you know, looking at what everybody else is doing and only focusing on what you're doing?
You know, if you try to compare yourself to everybody, I mean, there are a lot of agents within RE/MAX that do way better than I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what they want to do. You know, I just want to do what I want to do and be successful doing it the way I do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't really look outside. A lot of my friends, you know, they're selling 40, 50 houses a year and that kind of thing. And I'm not so much about how much, as much as, you know, being a good realtor.
Yeah, providing the best experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people say that haters are just jealous or that they get angry or fearful. Do you agree with that most cases of the time?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I feel like that touches on the point of what I was saying earlier. Because if they're hating on you or they're trying to get you to conform, what they're really saying is that what I'm doing is not working, so I want you to do what I'm doing so I don't feel bad about myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about hard or unrealistic clients? Have you guys had a lot of that? Like, you know, that, you know, we're all about building win-win relationships and creating the best experience for customers. But obviously we can't make everybody happy, especially clients. So like, how do you deal with that particular hard situation?
You know, being a realtor, I think you spend 75% of your time just educating.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, educating them what's out there. You know, what the market is doing at the moment, and if their expectations are going to match with what is feasible. You know, out there, and they may not know where they want to live or what part of the lake they want to live or whatever. But you know, they want a $300,000 lakefront that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it takes you a few days to show them that doesn't exist, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so you just have to educate them.
Yeah, just spend some time.
And try to stay calm and don't let them get under your skin too much and just take them the process, and they seem to pop out of it sooner or later.
Mm-hmm. Be that, the consultant more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Maclean?
Yeah, I feel like the education is definitely a really big part of it. You got to remember how stressful this purchase is for them. It's a huge purchase for them. For some people, it's the biggest financial transaction they'll ever make in their life. And then they got all their friends saying, "Are you going to let this happen? Or you should do this? Or you should do that?" And so you got to remember how many angles of pressure they have on them when they're in the transaction. So if they spart off to you or they cuss at you, you got to remember it's the stress
And the emotion.
It's the stress, it's emotion. That's not them every day. That's them at their most stressful hour. So you don't take it personal. You just keep working forward. And, if in your heart, if you're trying to do the best for them, it will prevail, even if it's not a purchase.
I love that. And I definitely go back to something that I always say, which is anytime you're faced with conflict from another person or just negativity, always think about how it's a reflection of your own character and like how your character is going to shine through, especially in tough situations like that. And I think that a lot of people don't spend enough time thinking on that level. I mean, we see it all over, like, social media and things, so it can be really difficult.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I pull from my law enforcement background is not matching somebody else's energy when they get excited.
Oh, I can imagine how you would need to not do that as an officer.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things. Like, I remember my clients, they most all say that the most thing they enjoyed was that I was always just calm.
Yeah, just calm.
I didn't get too excited because it's very stressful for them, and they have a lot of ups and downs, and they see the perfect house and it's gone before they pull the trigger, and they just freak out, and you just have to stay very, very calm and mellow with them, and just keep positive and just keep pushing on.
I've had several clients like break down at the end of transactions when we actually finally close on the place, because that's how stressful it is for them.
Right, yeah. And I'm sure that they really appreciated you when the dust all settled and you were able to keep that emotional barrier and that calmness. That's really nice. Okay, so switching gears just a little bit, do you ever find yourself with the comments of haters or the negativity that you've gotten from certain people to kind of help elevate you or use it towards like a motivational approach?
Yeah, that's when I knew I was doing it correctly. When I first got the hate from other agents in the office, I'm like, all right, you're on to something now. Because, they would say, don't do this or don't do that. And they were doing that. And like, we don't want you copying me. And I'm like, well, I'm just doing it better. So I don't know. I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing for you.
Right.
You're not paying my bills.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody's different, but, haters are they're just going to hate. It doesn't really matter, what trips them off. It's just that if you're doing well and they feel less, and they just kind of want to poke the bear and try to make you feel less than you are. So you just kind of have to ignore them. I don't really let them bother me too much, but I think that bothers them more than it set out to them bothering me.
Well, I know we can't get like super specific or anything, but can you describe a time where you found yourself rising above or beating a hater at their own game?
Well, the example that I'm going to give is that I had a client that had worked with a realtor before, and they weren't able to complete a transaction for him. They got him all the way to the end. This was in a rural environment, and if you're not aware, with the rural environment with a VA purchase, you have to have your well tested, the septic has to work out and everything. And they were with a realtor that essentially didn't know that, so they went through the entire transaction and lost it at closing. Then I had to handle that stress from that transaction and the new transaction and all the new barriers to that, and still came through and closed for him. And that was one of the clients that was really emotional at closing. And being able to help them like that really shows where we bring value to the table. We're not just a suck on the economy. We're actually bringing value. We're actually helping people.
Right, yeah. And I think that is such a common misconception in our industry is, we hear it all the time as agents, oh, why do I need an agent? Like, what are they going to bring to the table that I couldn't do myself? A lot with like for sale by owners especially. But I think strategy and communication and just keeping that emotional level-headedness are like 3 huge components to that. What do you think?
I think being able to listen. I have helped quite a few clients that have came from other realtors that, the realtor has in their mind what that person wants. Instead of listening and, sifting through all the jargon and stuff and figuring out exactly, what to send them.
Mm-hmm.
What to let them see, because they get so frustrated because they're not seeing what they want.
Mm-hmm.
But when you listen and say, this is it, let's go look at it, and they may not think they want to see it, but when they see it, it fits their bill.
Yeah, elevating too,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Okay, so what would you guys say, and I'm sure you probably have personal experience with this, but what would you say in a situation if the hater is a family member or a really close friend? Like, what do you kind of do in that situation?
Well, the relationship I have with my family and friends, we have a very sarcastic relationship. So
Really?
it might not be legitimate hate, but they bust my balls constantly about everything. No, why haven't you sold anything lately? Oh, why'd that transaction fall through? And essentially what you got to do is you got to stay on your path, stay on your mission, keep your head down, keep plowing forward. Because if you know what you're doing right, you really can't let a lot of other influences influence you. Like if somebody's trying to influence you, they're not doing better, you really should not listen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Really
Even
listen.
with a friend or family.
Even with a friend or a family, if they're not in your field and they're not killing it and they're not where you want to be, taking advice from them can actually be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
It can.
What about you, Bruce? Friend or
Yeah,
family?
I mean, my friend circle is pretty small. I mean, I try to keep the negative nannies.
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep them out. My family goes. I mean, we're kind of the same way. My brothers just love, prod me and giving me crap, and they're calling me, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I just love it because it just drives them crazy. I'm laying on my lazy boy watching TV, sipping tea, and he's out there pouring concrete or doing whatever he's doing, and it just drives him crazy when you're out showing houses or whatever.
That's awesome.
And I just love,
Yeah, poking and prodding at it. That's great. Okay, what about in the workplace? Like fellow agent, admin, even if you're not in real estate, just a coworker.
Yeah, real estate's definitely one of the cattiest fields I've ever been in, by far. That's like what I said earlier. If they're not doing better than you or they're not where you want to be, take it with a huge grain of salt, man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when I came into being a realtor, that was the first thing I heard, that gotta watch them.
Yeah, gotta watch them.
And it's funny, I've had a few of those instances, but it's, you work it out, and it's just not that big a thing. And being a primary, not being on a team, us primary agents are kind of out on our own little island, so we're not really dealing with, all 100 of us or all 800 of the realtors at the lake. We have to deal with some, but it's just not that big a deal.
I'm really glad that you mentioned just some of that struggle from a primary agent standpoint. And I just want to take a second and kind of shine light on the value of a primary agent, especially with both of you being really local in this market, active, certain things about, doc envelopes, Amarin, just different things that a local agent has to deal with. So I know with the differences between a primary agent and, a team, there's a lot of but right there. And can you guys shed some light on just kind of where you bring value from a primary standpoint?
Yeah, well, as a primary agent, if you choose a primary agent, you're my client. You're not going to get some random person on the team. You're not going to get, a percentage of focus. You're getting all the focus as a primary agent. So in that sense, it's kind of like a custom service because, we'll be able to mold, we'll be able to work with what you need. And we'll be able to give you a focus that really a team kind of gets departmental focus. And the level of professionalism you're going to get on the team, it will vary because you have a varying level of experienced agents on a team. You'll have brand new agents, you'll have seasoned agents, and who knows which one you're going to get.
I like that answer. What about you, Bruce?
Also, I think primaries, being a primary, I handle everything. Paperwork, contracts, amendments, all that stuff. So I know exactly where everybody's at in every transaction. And so when they call you, you know exactly what's going on. You don't have to say, well, let me talk to my admin and I'll get back to you and see if they process that.
Right.
So it's kind of nice. I mean, they know that when they call me, they're going to figure out, where we are.
Yeah, without having to go many different routes. I like that. Okay, last question. Well, a couple more questions. Is there any more advice to our listeners that you both would have for anyone struggling with any haters in their life?
Yeah, just focus on your path. I know the haters, they can get under your skin. but you just need to put your head down and focus on your goals, focus on what your timeline is, and just keep going. Just keep going. Most of the people that drop out of this industry, they're going to drop out in the first 3 to 5 years. So if you can make it past that, the statistics of surviving are a lot greater.
Yeah, I love that answer.
You're right. I mean, just keep your eye ahead, and just keep focusing on what you want to do, and don't pay that much attention to what everybody thinks you should be doing, kind of a thing. And I mean, if you just stay focused and don't have a lot of deviation and have your peripheral vision going crazy on you, you'll be okay.
I'm glad you said that too, because it's often said that, when you're busy and you're focused, you don't have time to even, look around, let alone get bothered.
The last 2 years, I mean, it just flew by because you were so busy that you couldn't do anything other than try to keep track of all your stuff.
Right.
And showings and listings and closings. And, if you don't have a calendar in your phone, you're just helpless. So, yeah, and it's a busy time.
I love it. Okay, so last question, just to get a little bit of personal insight on you both. What are some of your favorite things centered around the Lake of the Ozarks that you like as far as being a local here?
I like the atmosphere of Lake of the Ozarks. That's the biggest thing I noticed when I moved here. Everybody's friendly. Everybody's here to just relax and have a good time. You don't see a lot of stress around here. It's really easy just to walk up to people and just strike up a conversation. And that's what I really like about the lake. I also like what the future holds for the lake. I think the lake is really going to boom for the next 5 to 10 years. And I really think the sky's the limit. We're looking at it get in a casino. The Osage Outlet Mall is getting rehabbed. So, I mean, I don't see anything but success in the future.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed raising my family here. I mean, we've been here for so long that I've got pictures of my mom and dad. They lived in a tent 150 yards from the square, and the roads were dirt.
No way.
And my mom was the second dogwood queen.
No way.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
We've been here, and I remember back in the day when I was going to school, I mean, you could go out and fall asleep on Highway 54 in the winter and not worry about getting ran over. It was dead. It just went to sleep. And now it's probably busier in the winter than it used to be back, in the early 80s in the summer. So it's amazing the change.
It is, and I can even attest to that too. I've been here since I've always grown up here, coming for summers and stuff like that, but I officially moved here when I was 11, and I can remember before the new highway was put in, and just different little things like you were just saying, and it's such a short amount of time, for that growth. So I'm like you, Maclean. I think that it's only gonna just quadruple and keep growing. It's really exciting. So, well, Grow, Thrive, Inspire listeners, we could not be more thankful to Maclean and Bruce for bringing their experiences and story here and sharing it with us. Guys, how would our listeners get a hold of you if they're interested in chatting with you, doing business with you, seeing your stuff?
Yeah, you can go to my website, which is just housesbymac.com. You can hit me there. You can hit me up on Facebook at Maclean Kelly. Yeah, those are the two primary deals. Or just shoot me a call at 573-210-8478.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get me at bpprosellsthelake.com or bpprosellsthelake at Yahoo. Or you can get me on my cell, 573-434-6285.
Awesome. Well, we have even more of Season 4 coming at you, so be sure to tune in on Wednesdays, and you can also check us out on all of our platforms for more episodes. We cover things like things happening around the lake, community spotlights, businesses, anything that you can think of. And we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, any platform you can find us. And also on 89.3 FM Key Radio in Osage Beach. And remember to always grow, thrive, and inspire, and we'll catch you next time.